Okay, so we are here for the last time for
Not
this
forever.
season. Not forever, but for this season, because this is the last episode of season 5.
Yep.
So
And
episode
then
12.
and then starting in June, our podcast goes back up.
Yes.
So
yes.
just FYI, in case you're like, where are Terry and Jayme in my
Oh,
life?
in case you miss us and are giggling, the podcast episodes, are coming back. 1st of June, right? Isn't that what
1st of June.
we're saying?
First Monday of June.
Yeah. So we're hoping, all things well. We'll have Outlander with us, Tracy Alexander, at the beginning of the season for us to kind of talk about this series, this actually the TV season, how that went, and a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, we'll do our normal thing. We'll look at Outlander through the lens of theology, religion, and spirituality.
Yep.
And yeah, it'll be good. So we're excited.
All right, so let's get into this episode.
Episode
Jayme,
12, Never
Jayme.
My Love. I have to say, I don't think I've ever heard that song.
I have.
Mm.
I actually, because I was born in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
and I have heard that song. And I mean, okay, you say your things about what it. I just want to gush. Is what I want to do.
I think we should start with you gushing because.
Oh my God, I love this episode so much. So it's a really hard episode, and why did this writer not write so many more episodes this season?
This writer was Matthew B. Roberts and Tony Graffia.
I was just like, why? When I look back over the season, what I really love the most about is relational stuff, which is what we got last season or last episode with didna.
Yeah, last episode. Yeah,
we got some really
Journey
strong.
Cake.
Yeah, we got some really strong, and they brought forward or brought backwards, I guess, things from the 20th century. Mm-hmm. And the episodes that I've really loved have been the flashbacks, because the 20th century really is always with Claire and always with Roger and Bree. And it never goes away, really. And so what I love is the mixing of the two times, the mixing of the two cultures, and how people's relationality deals with it in the context that they're in. And this episode totally does that. The dissociative nature of being beaten and raped was just so beautifully portrayed in this. And so it was so hard to watch. And at the same time, I'm smiling because I'm seeing people in their 1960s clothes when they're really from the 18th century. And
there's a creative way in which they did that.
Really,
I mean, I kept thinking about the way in which Roger's trauma sort of exhibited itself in the silent movies earlier in this season, and we have kind of a different Claire's way of dealing with trauma,
right?
Which I thought was really good to kind of be able to even compare those two side by side.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to kind of watch those, back to back and see kind of what the differences might be and what the similarities are as well. Definitely dissociation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that Frasers Ridge is in, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like a Monet. It's impressionistic. Is an impressionistic blur in a portrait over is just brilliant, because she can't get there. She can't see it. Instead, she's seeing another home where she would have been safer.
Yeah.
A place where she would have been safer.
Sitting there going, which house is this? We have not seen this house.
No.
So I'm just curious if it's a house that is just completely out of her imagination, or if it was a house that she knew and she just sees herself in it, or if Frasers Ridge was a 20th century house, this is what it looked like. It just is interesting.
Because there was a lot of wood in it, and there was a lot of lot of open glass and things like that. It almost reminded me of who's that American architect who
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes, it was very much a Frank Lloyd Wright type of house.
Yeah.
And it had that feeling of being in the wilderness while also being in a really modern space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, and what I was also grateful for is that I don't know if this translated over in the UK, but at the beginning there's a trigger warning, and the one for the States. At the beginning, there's a trigger warning with a hotline for the States for domestic, not domestic abuse, but sexual abuse. And so it says, be aware, this is what's going to happen. And then it gave the stars, all of these things are going to happen, beware. And then at the very end, there was if you have experienced sexual abuse, if you are having difficulty, here's the hotline. It was, I thought that was really considerate, but also essential for people who are triggered by this kind of, and it was definitely brutal.
Yeah. Talking about Outlander earlier, I know on Twitter they were talking about, or I think she'd mentioned something about, well, this is broadcast on Mother's Day and this is going to be really triggering for a few people, or quite a few people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, for book readers, but recognizing not everybody who's watching have read the books. For book readers, we knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But also too, I think it's, I guess the implicit kind of we don't think about this on Mother's Day. Like Mother's Day is supposed to be all nice, and I'm like, no. I mean,
some people
our mothers have been through hell.
And some people have been through hell with their mothers. And so not everybody has a mother or a child that they can. Sometimes Mother's Day is just pain for folks, and so. I don't know. I'm wondering what happened in the production room when they realized that this last episode was going to bottom out on Mother's Day. I'm wondering what went on, what kind of conversations went on, and they thought maybe we could delay it by another week or whatever. That is something that I wish I'd been a fly on the wall. On that one.
Well, and if they hadn't have taken the week break earlier, midway through the season, then it wouldn't have been. So, interesting. But, go ahead.
Okay. So I also want to mention the bunny. So as Claire is having her dissociative episode, she sees the bunny rabbit.
What about it?
Well, so there's a bunny rabbit in when Jayme is waking up on the field of Culloden.
Oh my gosh, I completely missed that.
And a lot of this is down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Claire is down the rabbit hole, and I actually think that is even mentioned. That might be a title of one of the chapters in a book.
Me.
But she is down the rabbit hole, and so she is there. She is trying to recover, and there's a bunny sitting in grass. It's definitely dissociative, but it happens just as Claire's spirit, ghost, whatever vision comes to Jayme while he's laying amid the dead in Culloden. And it comes to her as she is disassociating and imagining Jayme as well. So bunnies are rabbits are kind of a symbol of rebirth. They're a symbol of spring. They're a symbol of coming back. And so you've got I can't even, Westra something is where we get the word Easter.
Right.
And it's a bunny rabbit in ancient Celtic spirituality, a bunny rabbit that goes around and it ushers in the new year.
Interesting. Wow. And thinking about Jayme and her in her dissociative state, I found it really interesting that he was the only one that was dressed in 18th century clothing. Everybody else was in go-go boots and polyester and
the long
70s hair and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Jayme is still in that linen shirt and breeches and not even in a kilt though. No. Which is interesting because we see him in his kilt this episode. We haven't seen him in his kilt since the gathering. I think maybe he was wearing his kilt at the
because
gathering.
he's going to war.
Yeah, but he didn't wear his kilt when he went to Alamance.
No, he was forced to wear the red coat. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But even before that, yeah. So that's I think that's interesting, just in the costume choices that were made. Except when you see him walk into the 60s house, he's wearing like the 60s leather coat, because the belt is different, but the rest of it is 18th century, which I just found that really interesting.
Yeah,
there was also what I also thought was really interesting is the harkening back to season 1. So you just mentioned where he's in Culloden, but the shaking so hard you're making my teeth rattle is what he says to her when she's on the horse right after he's rescued her at the very beginning. He has short hair like he had in season 1, because if you read the books, he had to get his head shaved basically because of a head injury. So this harkening back to season 1 when he comes to her rescue is also,
and he wraps her in her in his tartan. Mm-hmm. And he wraps her and he holds her, and that's the first thing he does. And what does he say? He says the same thing that he said to Roger Mack when they rescue him. Yeah. It's that you are whole.
Alive.
You're alive. You are whole. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just so Roger and Bree.
Well, a lot of people said
a lot of people said it.
They just got spat back out, which is a possibility, and that's what happened. So maybe we will see Roger's call. Maybe we will. I mean, Roger,
and maybe we will see the second child. So they do go back.
They were playing with us.
Well, yes, they were completely, totally playing with us, and it was really well done that way. Ian gets a chance to believe what happens, and see it for himself. They try to go back because they can go back, and now they've lost all the stones. So there are no stones for them to go back. They're going to have to next season. When Bree gets pregnant with their daughter, and they find the heart defect or the issue that they need to go back to the 20, they have to have a reason to go back. Yeah. I love that they chose to say this was home. So it's no longer, it's now a choice for Roger and Bree to be there. And it's going to have to be a heartbreaking choice for them to leave because they have to choose between their daughter and their family.
Yeah. And how ambiguous it was left as to what exactly kept them. Was it Jayme? Was it when they said I was thinking of home? Did they have conflicting notions of what home was? I like that it's just kind of left it up to our imagination as to why it didn't work. Right. Because short of some kind of conversation around the fire about, well, what exactly were you thinking about, which would be a bit boring. I thought that was really good.
Another thing that I wanted to say, sorry, Wendigo. I just, go ahead. Wendigo.
Yeah, let's talk about Wendigo. I'm just wondering, you ought to act more afraid. I remember thinking about that in the books of just, gender roles, how we still have so much to do. And yet I don't walk around, unless it's like 1:00 in the morning, which I never do anyway. But, don't walk around afraid of men. And how that gave her away to him is that she wasn't afraid of men. Right. I think I don't have anything to say about that really, except just pause.
And Wendigo doesn't help her.
No.
He doesn't in the book
either.
No. And that does belie his character. Just FYI, he will be coming back in the next season. Yeah. And there will be some conflict there. Yeah. He wants to go back so badly. And I think that's his only driving force. The only reason he's with these men is to find a way to survive. Yeah. And Claire tells him, come with me, or, help me. We've got gemstones. Sets that up completely. Yeah. And she knows where the standing circle is. So, so I wanted to mention also couple of things. The orange.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think that that's a hearkening back to the time that she had to give herself to Louis.
Really? Okay. I got that.
Yeah.
He gives her an orange. That's
he
right.
gives her an orange. She sees the orange. She wants the orange, and then she has to give herself to Louis to free Jayme.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that she willingly does, but it is sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
He abuses his power to take what something that he believes he is due for doing something for her.
Yeah.
And at the end, she takes that orange.
Yeah.
And so I think that the orange is always there when this type of thing happens.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about, talking about the fantasy disassociation still, Ian as the soldier coming home from war?
I loved it.
I did too. I thought, oh my gosh, of all with his little butch haircuts, like the whole thing. It was like,
he's
wow.
Damaged.
Mm-hmm.
He's damaged. He's coming back. He's been in another place.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really nice way of setting that up.
Mm-hmm.
And because we know he's been damaged.
Yeah.
I also, Marcelly, I loved that Marcelly and they were all there. And I love that it was for Thanksgiving. It was just...
That seemed a bit odd to me, though, I have to say. I mean, yeah, she lived in the States for a little while, but she's not American. So just thinking, and Frank wasn't either. So the adoption of the Thanksgiving tradition, I don't know, it just seemed a bit odd. I would have thought Christmas would have made more sense, but would Christmas have just been too weird to have included? Like Thanksgiving, you can still not have a tree up. It can still be, decoration can still be normal. Whereas with Christmas, there'd be a whole bunch of other bump around that you would need.
But do they celebrate Thanksgiving for their daughter? I mean, so she's American. She is there and they're in Boston. And so it's pretty, Thanksgiving, at least that story of Thanksgiving really has its center in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
But did it need to be a holiday? Could it not have just been a party? Like, I was just,
right.
I was like, why Thanksgiving of all? But that was just me. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think about Marcelly killing Brown?
I meant to go back and look. Isn't she the one who did it in the books?
I can't remember.
I think somebody besides Claire did.
Yeah. No.
I think it's Marcelly. I think Marcelly did it in the books. It wasn't Malva.
Rings a bell. No, it wasn't Malva. But I'm pretty sure that has a very strong ring to it.
Yeah.
And I do remember her killing someone. I do remember going, well, this is, because she has killed before, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And she's had to. Mm-hmm. She has no reason not to kill this man because, again, this is the judge and jury. This is what Ian will do later. It's like, no, he has no reason to live. We're going to get, and they build it up nicely for us so that we want to see him die. Than, other than him pleading for his life. Yeah. And then they set it up that he's like, yeah, I'm gonna, and they've set up next season with his brother wanting revenge. So this is going to be that's nicely set up.
Yeah. I loved basically she says, you've attacked my family, you attacked my mom. She, her ownership of the situation and just kind of, you've done this to me too. And of course she was attacked, but I just kind of go Marcelly, and I'm all supportive of nonviolence and all that kind of stuff. But this situation, nah, go ahead. Stick that hemlock in. I don't care. Yeah. So interesting. So Roger says a time for men of peace and a time for men of blood. which there are chapter titles for A Man of Blood relating to both Jayme and to Ian, and then scene cuts to Ian putting the blood on his face.
Right.
So kind of going back to Ian as the soldier kind of thing. This
Well, and the people who kill for Claire. So I'm glad that they included that. That is straight out of the book.
Yeah.
That she
has an oath. I kill for her.
Yeah. And her oath is the Hippocratic oath because she's a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so she can't kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to, in this case,
mm-hmm.
kill the man who started all of this, but she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, the man gets away.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ends up running into him, and her trauma from the rape goes on. And I'm wondering,
not Lionel though, but one of the other guys,
one of the other men,
who we didn't really see in this. It's not the same character.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And so she sees him in the, and so I don't think we're going to get that piece of it, and
so
probably rightfully so. I think that there's enough conflict here for us to manage that. Other things about the book.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jayme brings her home in the book, he asks whether or not she could possibly get pregnant.
Mm-hmm. That didn't happen.
His solution to her possibly getting pregnant is to jump right back into the bed with him after she has been raped. And she doesn't want to. And she's scared, and she's hurt, and she's traumatized. And he's like, I know you don't want to, but this is going to be the best for you. And this is what you helped me with when I came back from Blackjack. And so she does.
Yeah.
But it's at Jayme's recommendation and Jayme's suggestion, because he wants there to be enough of a question as to whose child that might be.
Same situation as Roger and Bree.
Same situation as Roger and Bree.
Yeah.
So that he can claim the child.
Yeah.
In this situation, at the end, she chooses to do this with him.
Or the implication is that she did. We don't see, but he says, "You brave wee thing."
Yeah. That she takes it upon herself, and it's her choice at the end on what to do. And I loved that pivot. I loved that shift. I found that to be, I don't know if it's realistic or not at all, but I loved that she got to be the one to call the cards there, to call the shots there.
Except for me, they didn't explain it. So if you don't know the story, if you haven't read the book, then you don't know that that's why they slept together at the end. And so what we're seeing is they've shifted it to her consent. I don't know if that communicates to someone who hasn't read the book that that's what's happened.
No, I think it just appears that she's done this to heal herself.
Yeah.
And to perhaps put a different spin on what sex is, what sleeping with someone is, and to maybe start to heal between she and Jayme, because it could become a thing.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing somebody mentioned on somewhere, I don't know, Facebook, YouTube, somewhere like that, about the window sex in the last episode, saying, well, it's a good thing they did, because, there's going to be the question about whether or not she might get pregnant after the next episode. And so it was kind of somebody who read the book saw that as, well, then that, that helps the situation. But but
they weren't close enough in the book to have made a difference.
No.
So they needed to do something to prove, and he needed to say, no, this is what we did.
Whereas the TV show is almost like the night before, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I guess I made so many notes for this episode, but one of the things is, he carries her to see the bodies, which he does in the book, to kind of make, so you can see they are dead, right?
Yeah.
But later, when he's talking to her by the river, how she, I guess another, just something that still strikes me, which we've talked about before, and we've already said about the way in which this portrays trauma. He has rescued her, all this kind of stuff. She still can't look him in the eye. As they're standing there, she's just kind of looking off to the side, and just the way that was portrayed, I thought was so sensitively done. That, you know, it's not my hero, you know, it's kind of course not, you know.
No.
All the things, and she talks about all the things that she's experienced, all the things that she's lived through, and I'm supposed to be shattered by this, and I won't be, and yet she is, you know, like, so that sheer will of, damn it, I'm not going to let this get to me, yet we know it has gotten to her.
It's the greatest generation. It's the clamming up. It's the, you know, I lived through all of this. I'm not going to let, and the two people that offer her a hand and an ear are the two people that we know who've been raped. Ian does not. He's not close enough to be able to listen to his auntie about something like that. But her daughter,
Bree and Jayme,
have been shattered by this. And she's, what I got from the book and what I got from Claire and the way it's portrayed is, but it happened to you and not me. And I can help fix you. I don't know how to fix me. And I think that's human nature. That's really well written, well done.
Yeah. And Roger telling Bree what happened in the dark, I thought was beautiful as well. That's also in the book.
He didn't want to see her eyes. He didn't want to see her face. He didn't want her seeing his. Yeah.
And we get the, if my last words weren't I love you, you'll know I didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
Which is the last words in Fiery Cross.
Yeah.
So they've gone back.
And then the storm is coming. Yeah. And then there's a storm on the horizon, which, you know, obviously incredibly symbolic of the Revolutionary War that's coming and the war that's coming with Brownsville, the issues that they're going to have with Brownsville.
Yeah. I loved how we had cold open. We had no credits at the beginning, and at the end, it was the singing again, but from the lone vocalist. And as the season ends with the rain, that felt perfect to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I loved it, and because when I remember, it opens with "Never My Love."
Yeah.
And I just want them to write all the episodes.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like Matt Roberts and Tony Graffia sometimes are burdened by the book in a way that makes it kind of unwieldy and difficult. But for something like this, and for something as horrific as this episode portrayed,
they managed
for it to be done as sensitively and carefully. I mean, also, I think if I remember correctly, Matt B. Roberts is the one who wrote the episodes. Was it in season 2, when we get more of Claire's PTSD from being in the war, which isn't in the book. But Matt wrote that episode too, if I remember right.
But it's creative. It's a creative way of her dealing with this. I mean, she always harkens back in her narrative about, you know, what it was like in World War I, World War II, what it was like in her time, and you know, the difficulties. But because this is her narrative, she doesn't speak of the hard things that happen. And his choice of kind of unpacking that and pulling the curtain open on that was, again, that's one of my favorite episodes. It's just seeing the pain that she must be going through and dealing with that. Yeah.
Well, okay. So next season.
We'll wait. It'll probably be 2021, guys. We might get a book before then, Diana.
God, please.
Please give us a book. Throw us a bone here.
We can read in quarantine, but you can't make TV shows in quarantine. So
No, they can't. And so I think we're waiting and hoping and praying that we're going to at least get this in 2021.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well,
thank you all.
We will see. We'll be back with as we said at the beginning, with new podcast episodes 1st of June. So we'll see you then. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.